Baseball is the greatest game in the world. The tribal chief, the head of the table.
DraftKings podcast host Jared Carrabis.
Acknowledge him.
The best ever.
If I wanted to, I could have played professional baseball.
We're gonna talk baseball.
Wow. We're rubbing it in the faces of people who think that the sport's dead. We're here to show you that it's not. When people say, this is my life, no. Like this is my life.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest, greatest edition of the Sweat Tuesday Takeover with Jared Carrabis, with no Jared Carrabis today.
What?
About damn time.
That's crazy.
Hey, this is our time to shine,
Yes.
guys. All right, Steve Buchanan, Jesse Cofield, I'm Emerson Latzia. We will have tons of content from Jared throughout this program, though.
Yeah, and he's out because he's at the MLB Draft Combine
Which we
in
found
Arizona.
out earlier, about an hour ago, that that's a real thing.
Yes, we can confirm. We have a ton of content from him sprinkled throughout the show. Okay, so never fear, including Jared finally paying up for his bet with Kyle Freeland. And yes, it did include a quick trip, maybe not so quick, to the tattoo parlor.
Yeah, it could be a
I'm
lot.
actually impressed, like, making a bet, like, oh, you got to get this tattoo, and then actually following through.
Following through with
Yeah.
it.
Have you never made a bet as serious as that?
No.
I mean, a tattoo is very permanent.
That is true. There are
Well,
ways to
nowadays,
remove
there are
tattoos.
many ways to get rid of that.
I
but
mean, that's
you're
true,
right,
but
you're
it's still expensive and painful to
Right.
get it and to remove it.
As a man with a tattoo on his body, I can tell you it is painful. It feels like a
bet it's
needle
stupid.
3 inches into your skin on
What is your
fire.
tattoo? Because I want to know how stupid it is.
Yes.
Buddy, I'll show you. It's on my back. I'll show you after the show.
Yep.
probably
We'll
very
do that
embarrassing.
during a commercial break.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get this party started, though, here, lady and gentlemen. Same way we do every week, the takeoff. Let's rip through some MLB headlines, some MLB news. And congratulations to the Red Sox. 5 straight wins now, including a sweep of the Yankees. But the Reds, Steve, are like, hold my beer. 9 wins in a row. They're atop the NL Central for
They
the first
are.
time since 2021. Joey Votto returns last night and is mashing like he hasn't missed an entire year of baseball. How soon until we're anointing Cincinnati as America's team?
We will never be doing
Never.
that because that belongs to Seattle. So we cannot do that.
Okay.
But they can absolutely be America's Team B. I have no problem doing that.
1A, 1B.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine.
I think that's fair.
But the Reds are a very, very fun team. And I honestly really hope that this continues because that division has been so incredibly boring and just lackluster. Like, you look at the Milwaukee Brewers. For most of the season, they have been the top team in that division.
Yes.
They are not a first-place team in any other division except that putrid American League Central because that's just as bad as the National League Central. But this is a fun team. There are so many teams right now that are performing so well that of the 12 teams that made the Major League Baseball playoffs last year, only 4 of them are in a playoff spot currently for this year. So there are so many other teams that are playing well, performing well, and the Reds are one of those teams. And the fan base is like ecstatic. There was a video last night after they won, and the place is going crazy. Like, we need more of that. We need more of these teams that have not performed well, not done well, and just have like their fan base be enthusiastic about that team.
Steve, we're talking about their longest win streak in like more than a
Decades?
decade right now. Also, plus 425 to win the division right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Brewers' loss to the Diamondbacks put the Reds half a game up in the NL Central, and that is the latest in a season that they've been in sole possession of first place since winning the division in 2012.
And that's incredible. And if I'm not mistaken, too, don't hold me to this. I feel like before the season began, for them to win the division, it was 40-1. What is it right now?
It's plus 425. Brewers are the favorite at minus 110. And you also have the Cubs at plus 425, but they've been sucking. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Remember, weeks ago, though, you did like the Cardinals. They're down to now plus 600.
Yeah, the Cardinals have just really, and that was the start too. It was like when I was talking about that, I'm like, oh, they have an upcoming series against the Reds. Like, that's a good time for them to start getting hot. Well, the other team started to get hot, and that's been the Reds. But yeah, the Cardinals, and obviously I don't want to get too much into this, but the Cardinals are just, they look like lost puppies out there right now. It's amazing how talented that team is. and yet they just cannot put it together. They're like the Padres of that division. They're uber talented, but they just can't put it together as a team.
Yeah, it does suck a little bit for them, though, that Hunter Green has hit the injured list.
Yep.
But they've got tons of stars, these young stars with these bright futures. Like the future for this team does look extremely bright, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what the great part is about these teams when they're not doing well and they end up getting all these prospects. Like Ellie De La Cruz came up, instantly made an impact. He's going to be up in the majors for years to come now, and he's so young. He's only 22 years old, I think. So he's going to be making a big impact.
Matt McClain, Spencer Steer.
I mean, all these names that you do not recognize off the base, but like these are going to be good players as they develop at the major league level.
Okay, well, there's the Reds who are absolutely crushing. And then let's go to the other end of the spectrum of the Wheel of Fortune. The Yankees.
The bankrupt section.
Who absolutely stink without Aaron Judge. I mean, it's kind of wild. We knew he was obviously their star and everything.
Well,
but
they stink without Judge.
Yes.
Do they also kind of stink when they had him too?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well,
they score like 2 more runs a game when Aaron Judge is in that lineup.
No. So, like, there was something that I was reading that had the stats up. Yeah, okay. The Yankees' batting average and OPS since June 4th are now the worst in MLB.
Yes.
So since they lost Aaron Judge, their offense has just tanked.
This is a repeat of last year, Steve. This is exactly what we saw last year.
This is even worse.
This is worse?
This is even worse. I mean, if you look at their stats in the month of June, you just kind of alluded to this.
Yeah.
Coming into today, in the month of June, they are hitting 192 with a 250 on base percentage and a 370 slugging percentage. Like, that is unbelievably bad. Before you even consider that this is the New York Yankees. In that same realm, there are 5 players with at least 30 plate appearances that are hitting under 200 for the month of June. DJ LeMahieu's hitting 171, Anthony Volpe's hitting 167, Donaldson 162, Giancarlo Stanton, who just recently came back from injury, hitting 122, and then you got Anthony Rizzo hitting under 100 for the month of June at 083.
Yeah, I mean, for this season, so in the nightcap of like Sunday's doubleheader there, for the Red Sox, there only one Yankees regular, Rizzo, was hitting above 260 for the season.
It's incredible.
So it's like, who is going to step up in Judge's absence? I mean, we haven't seen anything.
At this point, like, I don't even know who that is anymore. Like, just a couple weeks ago, and we talked about it on the show, when you have Willie freaking Calhoun as your cleanup hitter, something is wrong, and you shouldn't be the New York Yankees if that guy is your cleanup hitter.
All right, and it sucks for the Yankees, too, because the timetable for his return is in limbo after he had like another injection in his, what is this, a toe, right?
Toe. It's his toe.
So,
the big toe.
Right, and I think Aaron Boone said last week could take a week, could take an entire month. What did you say?
It's the important toe.
Yes.
The big toe.
As somebody who has said turf toe, again, I understand.
You have not had
turf
turf
toe
toe
again.
Yes,
But I will say the big toe does have everything to do with your balance and everything like that. So.
You literally had pneumonia, and now you think you've had everything else.
I've had quite a bit, but I don't
and
sit
listen,
here and I don't talk about
pneumonia, almost 17th century peasant in you.
Okay,
make it.
so Steve, now that we're seeing how bad the Yankees are without Judge, again, worse than what we witnessed last year, is it safe to say that he is more important to the Yankees than Shohei Ohtani is to the Angels?
Yes.
I would.
They're doo-doo without him.
But
they're literally not even a professional baseball
No,
team.
but to be fair, because like what I was saying earlier too, like they were okay with him though too. Like they were at near the bottom of the division even when he was healthy.
Right.
When you take Ohtani out of the mix for the Angels, you're not only taking out probably their top hitter this season, you're also taking out their top pitcher this season. So you're losing twice with Ohtani, whereas yes, obviously Judge is the pinnacle of that offense, but it's not as if that offense was like humming along even with him in the lineup too as well. So I think Ohtani is still a bigger deal to a team than Aaron Judge is, but obviously what we're seeing right now without Judge is just downright awful.
Yeah.
I mean, Ohtani, best hitter on his team, that has
Best
Mike
pitcher.
Trout on the roster.
Yep.
He's his team's best pitcher, as you've mentioned. I just saw the stat. So he's hit more home runs than anyone in the entire league this season. And he's giving up fewer hits per 9 innings than any other pitcher.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And, you know, here's the big story now, too. The Angels are now in second place in the division because the Astros have gone on a bit of a slide. The big thing was, are the Angels going to retain him or not? And the more he adds to his resume this season including, what is that going to look like
Yeah.
when he potentially hits free agency the upcoming season?
So what was the report like a month or so ago? Like his contract can end up hitting like 600 mil.
Jeez.
Like something insane.
Yeah,
like to try to keep him, or do you try to get a haul in return? And just hit the reset button.
That would literally be like one of the most historic hauls of all time.
Yep.
And I don't even know what that haul would look like.
Isn't
Like
it
what would
kind
be
of-
reasonable?
It's kind of like a, I'm going to be negative and say it's a lose-lose. Because
It
if you
probably
pay the absolute
Yeah.
boatload that it is to retain him, you know you're going to get crushed if you don't,
Right.
win a title in the next 5 years.
And if Ohtani
won't.
and this year, entering this year too, Steve. Remember all the moves that they made, like to try to put more power, more hitters around him in the lineup.
Rendon.
They tried to beef up the pitching staff a little bit. And listen, I believe they're in a wild card spot now, and I think the Yankees are like right behind them. But in the end, Ohtani has been very vocal about it, especially this season. The dude wants to win.
Right.
The dude is sick of losing.
Right.
He is too damn good to waste, and so is Mike Trout. I also want to talk about a National League MVP candidate.
Yeah.
In fact, the favorite to win it right now on the DK Sportsbook, Ronald Acuna Jr. Stevie just became the first player in MLB history. This sport has been around for 500 years. First
No,
player
wrong.
in MLB history to hit 15 home runs and steal 30 bases in his team's first 70 games. Please explain to me and the people at home how absurd this accomplishment is.
the first time in 500 years.
Yep. Before pneumonia. I mean, it's unbelievable to think about let me take that back. It's unbelievable to take the production that he is and say that somebody could do this. But this is the type of talent that he is. And we've been robbed of this because of injuries over the past few years, that he has not been able to play at his full potential. There was so much hype about him before he came up to the major leagues, and now you're starting to see what that player actually is. Earlier last week, he was even money to win MVP. He's now minus 140, but there's a pretty big gap in between that because after him, Freddie Freeman is next in line at 6-1 odds. So it's really Acuna's right now if you're going to make that bet. But he's leading in stolen bases in the National League by 10. He's only one of 6 players with 100 plate appearances with an on-base percentage of over 400 at this point at 403. I mean, he's just been so unbelievably good. But it also helps, too, that entire Braves lineup is hitting so well right now because he's the table setter for that offense, and then everybody is doing their part to bring him home. You know, they have to pitch to all these guys because there's so many good hitters in this lineup. So it's unbelievable to see because obviously the rule changes encourages stolen bases, and we've seen that from many guys so far this year. But this is just like when the guy gets on base, you know he's going to be running and stealing a base. And he's almost impossible to get out at this point. Over 400 on-base percentage. That is crazy.
I mean,
but he's amazing.
How tough would it be to choose someone besides him for NL MVP right now?
Oh, he's the runaway for me right now.
Clear favorite.
You cannot.
He's
put
putting distance between him and his
absolutely.
competition.
Like
All right.
for to go from even money to minus 140 in less than a week, like that's a pretty sizable move
Yeah.
in an awards market where there isn't a lot of movement all throughout the season unless somebody starts going on these hot streaks. But the problem is the National League has a lot of good players too as well. Acuna at some point is going to slow down a bit, and there's a lot of other players behind him who can catch up to him, like a Tatis Jr. or a Freeman or something like that. So he's definitely running away with it at this moment, but we're not even halfway through the season yet.
Yeah, and you have a rookie who's behind him in the NL MVP race right now.
Corbin Carroll, yeah.
Yep, in Corbin Carroll, and we all know how insane that NL West division has been, Cofield.
I mean, the NL Wild West, am I right? Like, Dodgers, third in the division.
Yep.
Holding on to that final wild card spot right now. What's just going on? It's chaos.
It is absolute chaos.
Like, explain.
I mean,
Help.
you look at the standings here, and you're like, oh, this is probably like 3 games into the season because there's no way we're almost into July, and the Dodgers are in 3rd, the Padres are in 4th, the Rockies are in 5th. Well, they should be. But the Diamondbacks and Giants, the Giants are going on a run right now. This is kind of like what we saw from them a couple of years ago when they just kept winning, and it's like, well, they're going to regress at some point, and they never did. The Diamondbacks sustaining this level of play is what's most surprising for me. I thought they were going to be a good team. I didn't think they were going to be this good at this point. But the biggest detriment I think for like the Dodgers and the Padres, they're not winning these one-run games. The Dodgers are 7-8 in one-run games. The Padres are 5-12 in one-run games. Like, these are games that you need to be winning, especially in this type of division here. The Dodgers are not playing well on the road too. That's been something that they haven't been doing well as well. But this is just like absolute madness. Like, if you were to tell me to pick a solidified winner of this division, I can't give you one right now. Like, it should be the Dodgers or the Padres, but they're not playing well at all. Like, are the Diamondbacks really going to hold on at this point? I don't know. I don't think so. But, you know, again, we're coming up to the All-Star break pretty soon in about 2.5 weeks or so, and Arizona's up at the top right now. So this is what makes baseball fun, though, truly, when you have these teams that are playing well, shouldn't be playing well, and I think that's what really, you know, brings a lot of excitement to the sport.
Yeah, it's been just about as wild as the NL Central, which we've hit on already. And just going back there, how about David Freese?
Holy crap.
Declining the induction into the Cardinals Hall of Fame. How shocked were you by this? Who the hell does
By the way,
this?
if this was the MLB Hall of Fame, like
Oh, no,
Which he is never going to be.
Yeah.
right, but I'm saying then you could kind of see it. But I feel like this is kind of a weird move.
This is the next best thing after, like, when you
Right.
know you're not an actual like Hall of Famer, you know it's a long shot to get there. But this isn't a huge honor that any player out there playing for any storied franchise would love.
But my point is his argument for why he's declining
Doesn't make sense.
It would make sense if it was for the MLB
Yeah.
Hall of Fame. But it doesn't make sense for the Cardinals Hall of Fame.
No, and like there has to be some beef with Freese with the Cardinals that we just don't know about. Because, so he played in Major League Baseball for 11 years. The majority of his playing career was in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you think of David Freese, like you think of him as a Cardinal. Like
A
he was
postseason hero for him too.
that was a huge
Yep.
part of why they won in 2011. Had 5 home runs, 21 RBIs during those entire playoffs. But like when you look at his numbers overall, like, you know, they're pretty pedestrian. Like he doesn't
Yes.
he doesn't jump out at you as a Hall of Fame player. But everywhere else that he played, like he was with the Dodgers, he was with the Pirates. I'm missing one other team, but he was there for no more than 3 years. So it's like, so you are a Cardinal. So for him to decline this is so incredibly odd because it's like
Yeah.
they want to honor you and recognize the contributions that you made to this franchise. Now, if he was with a franchise and it was like half a season or 1 year and he was like, I don't feel comfortable being in this Hall of Fame, like, okay, I get it. That makes a lot of sense. Like you were there for a very brief amount of time. You were there the majority of your career.
And 2011 NLCS and World Series MVP.
Yes.
Yes.
Like,
And the dude
You were
said,
that guy.
and he said he's turning it down because he did not feel deserving, but he's honored and he's humbled by the fans who voted him in.
it just seems like a weird play to decline something like this.
Absolutely.
It creates so much more of a narrative to decline it than to just accept it.
Right.
Have you guys ever been this humble before, turning something down like this?
No.
Like, hey, all right, so BC calls you up and says, yo, hey, Queen, we want to put you in the BC Women's Lax Hall of Fame.
Great. I'll see
Yeah.
you. When's the ceremony?
And
Do I
Steve,
get a
you're-
+1?
you're a former world champion in dodgeball. Dodgeball, I don't know, the average Joe's Gym calls you up and says, hey, Steve, want to put you in the Hall of Fame for dodgeball and stuff. What do you say?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
about time. Why did you?
I mean,
Absolutely.
if someone
Especially
calls
when the
me up,
Broadcasters Hall
if
of Fame
someone
calls
calls
me.
me up and is like, "We want to give you the Nobel Peace Prize," I'd be like, I'm not
No, I'd be like,
super
"You're damn right."
comfortable with that.
Yep.
But it's like this is this man's bread and butter. He obviously is a hero to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So I do find it very strange that he's just creating this whole conversation by declining it. It's opening the door to all this chatter.
Yep.
Why is he declining it? Is there bad blood? Blah, blah, blah. Just be humbled by it, but accept it. And the fans love you and they voted on it. So what's the point?
In 5 years, we're going to get the answer because HBO is going to make a documentary.
Yeah. Yeah.
The David Freese decline story is coming out on HBO or ESPN, and we're going to get the real
And
story.
he tweeted, "Thank you to all the people that have zero opinion one way or another. You know how to live your life. Enjoy the rest of your summer."
What? Oh, this is a weird. He's a weird guy. Oh, he's a
Weird
weird
guy.
guy. No, weird guy. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
A weird
Thank
guy.
you for having no opinion.
No,
What
no,
do you
no.
mean, man?
Weird guy.
Weird
Nope,
guy.
He's a weird guy.
Weird
I
vibes.
Hold
didn't
on,
see
guys.
that tweet.
That's-
Weird guy.
The vibes are off.
The Dog Dad Hall of Fame calling. Yes.
Okay,
I
you better
I will
hang up.
absolutely
You better hang
accept.
that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need
All
Jared
right.
on
We
the
got to
show.
take a break. We got to take a break. A bet is a bet here, people. And Jared Carabas and Rockies pitcher Kyle Freeland, they will settle a score 2 years in the making. How a game of rock, paper, scissors has left a permanent mark, maybe a future scar on Jared, literally. We will show it to you next. Welcome back, everybody, to the Tuesday Takeover with Jared Carrabis, a Tuesday edition of The Sweat. Tuesday Takeover with Jared Carrabis, and he is not here because, again, out in Arizona at the MLB Draft Combine, which is a real thing, which a few years ago, none of us were doing anything fun like that. Instead, we were sitting inside our apartments like Jared was 2 years ago, playing virtual games of rock, paper, scissors with Major League Baseball players, like real adults would. And you know what? He ended up losing one of those games of rock, paper, scissors to Rockies pitcher Kyle Freeland. And finally, like a real man, Jared decided to pay up. Watch this.
I'm going to get 21 tattooed on my leg today for Kyle Freeland. I lost a bet 3 years ago. I have to get his number on my leg.
21. So this one's really gonna hurt. It's gonna be grueling. It's gonna take forever.
We met in 2019 in spring training. I'm told make content. Why don't we do rock, paper, scissors, best out of 7 with every guy that I've got in my phone book. Kyle was probably like the first or second one that I did. So I was like, all right, if I beat you, I get to pick your walkout song. And he's like, if I beat you, you have to get my number tattooed on your ass. So I'm getting his 21, but it looks like Z1. We're gonna tattoo on my leg so that we can film it. He was nice enough to barter with me here. So my fear is not getting the tattoo. My fear is that he's like the first one to actually be like, hey, you never did what you said you were gonna do.
There's gonna be a chain reaction.
So now it's just gonna spiral. There's another tattoo bet that I lost. So I'm hoping that he doesn't see it. I'm not saying. So like right there? Yeah. I've never shaved my leg before.
All right. Sit down.
Sit up. Kyle Freeland, what are you feeling right now? Never mind what I'm feeling. Like,
I have pure excitement. This is 3 years in the making, and finally able to get back out to Boston and get this thing done.
When the schedule came out, did you see like Boston on the schedule and you were just ready to roll?
Yeah. You gonna be in Boston? Yeah, sure am. I'm gonna come to your game. All right, let's find a tattoo shop.
How many guys on the team know about this?
Pretty much every single one of them know.
Okay. I was surprised at how many players on the Rockies knew who I was. Like a bunch of guys came up and like introduced themselves yesterday, which you'll get that here and there, but we filmed the podcast before I came over here, and my closing thought was how friendly the Colorado Rockies are. I was like, everyone came, hey, nice to meet you, like blah blah blah. Pierce Johnson. Pierce Johnson, he grew up a Rockies fan?
Yeah, born and raised in Colorado.
What's the deal with everyone growing up in Denver and playing for the Rockies?
I think that's part of our GM's formula that he's trying out of bringing hometown guys back, mostly pitchers, and trying to slot that in and see how that works.
So that's intentional.
Yeah, I believe so.
That's crazy. Just like if you're from Denver, we have a place for you on the Rockies.
Yeah, me, Lucas Gilbreth,
Johnson.
Ty Block is in AAA, but yeah, all 4 of us born and raised in Denver.
I love that. Yeah. So you're a Nuggets fan. Are you one of those guys where it's like I'm good at a sport, but I love this sport more? There's a lot like Keith Folk was obviously a great pitcher for the Red Sox, the A's, whatever, but he was diehard hockey fan. Would you put basketball in terms of like I care about it?
No. I love Avs, Nuggets, Broncos. Avs, Nuggets, Broncos, like huge fans of them. Obviously, Avs won the Cup last year, Nuggets finals this year. Yeah. Massive fans of it. If I were to, I obviously love baseball to death, but I probably love golf more.
Golf.
Yeah.
Interesting. I would say I only care about baseball.
I could probably say that's probably true for you.
Yeah, as I get this Z1 tattooed on my leg, this is oddly enough not the first time that I've done an interview while getting tattooed. It is the first time that I'm sitting with the person that I'm getting the tattoo for. I have like most of my not most, but like this whole sleeve, there's a lot of it where I let other people pick what they wanted. I also think that like when you get tattoos for someone, a lot of people get them for people after they die. What's the point of that? Like, it's like, do you have any tattoos for people?
I got tattoos for my wife.
See, she's still alive to appreciate that.
I mean, I got like a sword for a wedding, like my tattoo wedding band. We got this one together in Amsterdam. She has the exact same one. She's got a little snake as well on her arm. Favorite flower, sunflower.
What is up with girls and sunflowers? Because that's now the third girl I know of where it's like the sunflower is their thing.
I think they all just choose a flower.
Yeah, and that's their
stick with
thing.
it,
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, I got a bunch of tattoos that are in other people's handwriting. This is your handwriting. So I am working on my legs now. The goal is to have it be a common occurrence where I start wearing shorts again. So people will ask about this, but what do you hope I say when people are like, what is that tattoo?
I mean, I really hope that, I mean, obviously this story is going to be shared.
It is.
I mean, if you start wearing shorts more often, people are going to be like, what is that random ass letter number on your leg for? And you're like, well, you follow baseball.
Yeah.
There's this guy, Kyle Freeland, pitches for the Rockies. And I lost a bet.
I did lose a bet, and I'm here paying it off. I'm happy that this is not my first leg tattoo either. From all the as I'm getting this right now, I was a little bit concerned about how a thigh tattoo would feel. Not bad. What's the worst spot for you?
Me was probably mostly elbow. When I did a snowflake on the elbow, and then any part like bone
Inside
on the
the
inside of
bicep.
the elbow, inside the bicep was terrible. The bones right on the wrist was not fun. Yeah, and any shading on bone, not fun. Fans in the
Come
house.
on over, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't want it on your behind?
We wanted to be able to put it on television. Do you have a sunflower tattoo?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Well, it's not safe for
It's not safe for
for
TV.
right now. Also not safe for TV. Just this side of it.
How many tattoos do you have for Kyle total?
The mountains are in Amsterdam. 1, 2. The boy's initials 3. The snake 4.
Fred?
Oh,
It has a name?
Hers is Fred, mine's Frank.
Oh.
Right here. Oh, the F on my neck. 6. Yeah.
Are these just tattoos in general? Those are all like couples tattoos.
Yeah.
That we came up to because we the Amsterdam one, we both wanted to get tattoos over in Amsterdam, and this is something that I thought of that I wanted to do, and she did the same exact thing with me.
Do you have a favorite tattoo?
Yeah, I do actually. It's my punch ticket of my debut.
Oh.
040717.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where was it?
I did the home opener in 2017 at Coors.
Got it. Okay. How was the WBC experience?
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
The camaraderie and the passion that you see come out from players and teams that you don't see on a big league field every single day.
Yeah.
Really until you're into deep into playoffs where it's like we're trying to do this whole thing. Like this is over the course of 2.5 weeks, and you're representing your country, and it's mayhem, and it was the most fun I've ever had playing baseball, and I got to do it with the best in the world.
Was there anyone that played in it before that you sought out their opinion on it before you agreed to do it, or was the opportunity just there and you were like, I'm 100% in?
The opportunity was there, and I was like, I want to do this. I spoke to Nolan about it. He was one of those guys that was like me, I'm back in, I'm doing this again, just because of how much fun he had the first time. Obviously, they won it, was that 2018, 17,
yeah.
once in a lifetime opportunities. Hopefully, I get invited back again. I feel like pitched well enough to maybe get an invite back, but if I don't, I have that on my resume for the rest of my life.
For sure. What would you say to the next pool of WBC talent for USA if they're hesitant because I don't want to get hurt or I'm not ready to throw competitive pitches this early? What would you say to those guys?
I understand that, every guy that says yes or no has their reasons as to why they're doing it. Sure. And the guys who say no, who are in that upper echelon of whether it's position player, pitcher, whatever. Obviously, it's mostly on the pitching side just because of the buildup we have to go through. They all have their reasons, whether, you know, they're going into a free agent year, they're coming off injury, maybe their team spoke to them, maybe, you know, they just don't feel like playing in the WBC. They all have their reasons, and you can't knock them for it because at the end of the day, they are big league baseball players, and they have, you know, a true reason as to why they don't want to participate. But, you know, like I was telling you, being able to represent your country and see that kind of atmosphere on a day-to-day basis is unlike anything I've ever experienced.
Well, talking about experiences unlike any other, you get to make your big league debut for your hometown Rockies and then sign an extension to stay with your hometown team. What was that night like when you put pen to paper and it's like, this is a done deal, this is where I'm going to be?
It was pretty crazy. We had been in talks with them through spring training, and then the season started and kind of went into a lull. Finally, we were able to, you know, get down to very close numbers and were able to get it out. And Ashley was actually in Arizona with our dogs, and I was in Denver by myself. Deal came in, Bill Schmidt gave me a call, congratulated me, and then called my parents, FaceTime them, and Mom picks up, and I said, hey, Mom, is Dad home? You know, gotta tell you guys something. Okay, I'm gonna be a Rocky for at least the next 5 years. I'm gonna sign an extension starting tomorrow. And my mom goes, oh, that's great. Later, come to find out, she thought that me and my wife were having a child.
What the hell?
Like, nope, I'm like, nope, sign the extension. You know, one of those like funny moments, like mother moments of like, oh, like I thought you were calling to let me know I'm gonna be a grandmother.
Yeah. So you're gonna be a Rocky for the next 5 years. I'm gonna have this tattoo for the rest of my life,
Yep.
which is I'm happy about that. It's gonna be
Just wait till
great.
he changes his number.
You know what? But this will always be his first.
There you go.
Actually, it's my second number.
What was your first?
My rookie year, I was 31.
But I'm glad that you're 21
Yeah.
now. Like
Yeah.
we've got a lot of parallels with 21.
Yeah.
I had mentioned, you know, nicknamed the Rocket, Roger Clemens, 21, and my sister, who in content I say is my adopted sister. She's my biological sister. Her birthday is on the 21st. There's a triple meaning there, and now it's gonna be my favorite baseball story. How's it look?
Wait, did you draw the 21?
He did.
I was like, that looks like your handwriting.
Yeah.
I got terrible handwriting.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Z1.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Bet paid, and
paid.
I feel like you should be thanking me. Why am I thanking you?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you
welcome.
for paying your bet.
You're welcome.
Jared's got some nice legs there, doesn't it, guys? Up next, we're taking a look at tonight's slate. We got division rivalries, marquee pitching matchups, and a crosstown battle with a ton of pop. Stay tuned. Poor man's version of Jared Carabas will join us next.
Welcome back to the Sweat Tuesday Takeover with Jared Carrabis. No Jared Carrabis this week. So we thought, well, this is a baseball-centric show, and we looked at our budget, and we said, well, we're going to have to bring in a baseball player to kind of keep it, and all we could afford was Nick Fryer. So Nick Fryer is here, and we're going to talk about tonight's MLB baseball slate.
Oh, that's what you want to talk about?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, do you want to talk about your baseball
You know,
career?
honestly, no. I've had worse intros, though, I will say. It's nice to be away from Emerson and Jesse for a
Yes.
little bit, too, because they have tended to be really mean on the other normal Sweat
Well,
segments.
that's not nice. Jesse's very nice.
They're not nice to me.
Oh, well.
Believe it or not, what you said was actually nicer than what I'm used to dealing with.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about tonight's baseball. So
Fine.
we'll get your perspective here. Let's start with the Orioles and Rays. We got Kyle Bradish going up against the recently returned friend of the show, Tyler Glasnow for the Rays. Orioles 5 games back in the division, which is honestly pretty remarkable when you think about the historic run that the Rays went on to start the season. The Orioles playing, extremely well themselves and only 5 games back in the division. What is your take here on this series and specifically here tonight?
Well, the biggest thing going in is just seeing Killian Murphy back on the mound again. I'm very excited for
Yes.
that as a big Peaky Blinders fan. I can never get over every time someone posts an image of that guy. It's like, he's a dead ringer.
They
for him.
really are.
It's separated at birth. But no, looking at this game, like Kyle Bradish, obviously he's kind of been hot and cold throughout the year. Obviously not going to set the world on fire, but going up against a Rays team that hasn't done a whole heck of a lot against right-handed pitching this month, like relative to what they are capable of doing. So, I mean, this is the kind of game that I look at for the O's where, again, always underrated in some way, shape, or form. I think the Rays, last I checked, were minus 175 favorites.
Yep.
With the Orioles, like, this is a game that if they win this, they have they're going against Taj Bradley the next day, and then they're done with Tampa Bay. That could, this is something that could start a winning streak for them if they're able to steal one against Tyler Glasnow. So I don't know about betting this game necessarily, but I am interested if they go and win this one, then I might be, trying to tail them going into the next game.
And Gunnar Henderson's been making a lot of noise lately. Someone
That's
who got off
right.
to a really slow start. We'll see if that can continue rolling here tonight. Let's go to the Mets and Astros. Somebody has to win here tonight. We got 2 teams that have just been on a terrible losing streak, just a terrible streak overall. We got Justin Verlander, who has been not what the Mets were hoping for when they acquired him this season, going up against the Astros. The Mets 3-7 over their last 10 games. Astros on a 4-game losing streak, also 3-7 over their last 10 games. Justin Verlander coming into this game has the highest ERA of his career since 2008 when he was at 4.84. He's currently at almost 4.5. What are your thoughts on this one here? Who is actually going to get the W here tonight?
So I'm actually leaning Mets right now in this one, as much as you have Framber on the mound, because I did want to go back and look at some of Verlander's video before, kind of having a take on this, and obviously seeing what he did against the Blue Jays, looking at what he did last time out against the Yankees, which I know you guys have been picking on the Yankees a ton, today, but looking at what he's been doing, his curveball is obviously just huge for him in general, but seeing what it's looked like lately where, sometimes he's hanging it, but he's missing up out of the zone. He's still getting guys to chase on that. So I would think going into this one, if he can still get away with those, that's going to be huge, but still seeing plenty of quality curves from Justin Verlander. And then, Steve, I kind of looked at the numbers, wanted to see how are the Astros against right-handers curveballs this season, and looking at most of this lineup, outside of Bregman and Altuve, they've been, subpar against right-handed curveballs. Bregman and Altuve are the guys that he's going to have to navigate around, going to be a little more challenging. Of course, that's what you expect for any pitcher. But in this case, with his breaking ball, Altuve hasn't seen a whole heck of a lot of those this season, but understandably so, because when he's seen them, he has smoked them. But if he can navigate around those 2 guys with his breaking ball and then still do what he does against Abreu, Tucker, who don't do well against righty curves this season, the Mets should be able to steal this one. So I'm very interested because he's had a solid June. I know he had one awful game, but he's had 2 good showings. So I would think this is a chance to see, okay, I'm actually back. I'm actually still Justin Verlander and continue to defeat Father Time.
Right. All right, let's talk about an LA series that we got going here tonight as well. Dodgers going against the Angels coming up here as well. We just talked about it earlier in the show. Dodgers kind of a little bit of a slide here lately, falling down to 3rd in that division. The Angels kind of doing the opposite. They're in 2nd place now in the AL West. Absolute blasphemy going on right now. What are your thoughts on this game here tonight?
I mean, it's just wild what's going on this season. This is why baseball's best, because we think we know what's going on coming into the season, but this has been next level that we don't know what's going to happen going into the year. For the Angels, the big thing for me is Reed Detmers, a guy who I know we all tend to pick on in DFS in some capacity, but he's been kind of cooking this month. You look at what he did against the Cubs, against the Rangers, 2 lineups that do pretty well against left-handed pitching. He only gave up 1 run against both of those lineups, and he struck out 8 batters. Now, the Dodgers have been better than both of those lineups against left-handed pitching this month, so this is going to be another really tough test. Could easily go and slip up. I don't know in terms of betting this game. I kind of like a J.D. Martinez total bases prop.
Sure.
But other than that, I'm just more looking at for this one, okay, Kershaw, yeah, he might go off, but the Angels have done well. But this is a big test for Detmers to see, like, okay, am I just on a good stretch? Because he's had a couple good 2-game stretches this season. Or has he actually kind of started to figure things out and he's got some serious momentum?
All right, let's talk about some DFS plays here for tonight. Let's stick with that game, actually, with Dodgers and Angels. I do like Mookie Betts tonight at 6,300 going up against Detmers. Nice. You did mention that Detmers has been having a pretty good month. I don't think he's allowed more than 2 runs in a start in the month of June, but you look at Mookie Betts, what he's doing against lefties, 435 WOBA, 170 WRC+. That's obviously great there. But of the 19 hits that he has against left-handed pitching so far this season, 12 of them have gone for extra bases, 7 home runs and 5 doubles over that span. Like I mentioned, Detmers has been better lately, but I still don't mind going a one-off here with Mookie Betts. Who do you like from DFS here tonight?
I think it's a great call. Mookie was on my radar too, just like J.D. Martinez. I'm going to go a little bit cheaper, but I am going to stay in the outfield with you, and I'm going to go with your guy Corbin Carroll. He's going up against Colin Ray, who is not good against left-handed hitting. Look, I don't need to say a whole heck of a lot about Corbin Carroll. I mean, stupid ISO against right-handed pitching this month, north of like 500. I just don't even know how that's possible. But the big thing for me is when you look at Ray, across the last 50 left-handed batters that he's seen, he's generated just a 29% ground ball rate. I mean, that's supposed to be it's pretty terrible. You would expect that to be like a great line drive rate. And then the hard contact rate too, you would think, okay, a lot less ground balls, maybe not as much hard contact. No, it is north of 46% from left-handed hitters against Ray over the last 50 plate appearances. So I really like Corbin Carroll on this one. I think Yelich is a good option too, a little bit cheaper than both of our guys. But I think Carroll, who just had another big game against the Brewers, could do so again tonight.
Value play for tonight, who do you like?
Jamer Candelario, and I think there's a couple good third base options tonight, but he's 3.1K, can save you a little bit, and this is kind of on the other side of it too. So he's going up against the lefty in Jordan Montgomery, a guy who does generate a lot of ground balls, but he's gotten barreled up a few times recently. If you look at the last 3 games, he's gotten barreled up 4 times in 2 of those 3 games. So I like that for Candelario, a guy who doesn't hit a lot of ground balls against left-handed pitching. Just a 33% ground ball rate throughout the course of the entirety of the season. But then you look at the month, that's all the way down to right around 21%, and he's had a lot of hard contact. I know his season-long ISO was like 89, like 089, the opposite end of the spectrum from Carroll, but he's still making a lot of quality contact. And this is a guy who posted a 180 ISO last season against left-handed pitching, so I think this is a spot where he can go take a step towards that number again.
I like Ruiz on the Athletics because the DraftKings algorithm refuses to up his salary despite being someone who's averaging just under 9 DraftKings fantasy points a game, and he's still only 3,200. Now, this is not somebody that's going to go out there and hit for a ton of pop or anything like that, but when he gets on base, he is stealing bases. And that's where all the DraftKings fantasy points has come through. 36 stolen bases on the season. I believe that leads the league at this point, which is just above Ronald Acuna Jr., but this is somebody who literally I don't think has been higher than 3,500 for the entire season, but he's averaging just under 9 DraftKings fantasy points. So I think it's absurd that he's still that cheap, and yet he's putting up that type of production. DraftKings Sportsbook, favorite bet, what do you like here for tonight?
So I'm going to go back to third base, but I'm actually going to go to the Rockies-Reds game, and this game is not being played in Colorado, but that really hasn't mattered for McMahon going up against right-handed pitching. So he's going up against Lively, and McMahon, just in general, is so hot right now. He's got 6-game stretch away from Coors. He's logged 2+ total bases 5 times. He has 5 extra base hits in that span. A couple 2-hit games mixed in there as well against right-handed pitching away from Coors this month. Generally speaking, doesn't matter when we're talking about home road splits for power necessarily, but obviously we're talking about Coors, significant. His ISO is over 450 against right-handed pitchers on the road this season. That's off the back of a 50% hard contact rate, 27% line drive rate. Left-handed hitters hit a lot of fly balls against Ben Lively. Across his 5 starts, it's been up to 50%, and the K rate's only been around 21%. 110 too. So there'd be a lot of batted ball events and good elevation.
So you mentioned the Cardinals game earlier. I do like the Nationals and Cardinals to go over their run total tonight, which is at 8.5 runs, 2 lefties going against each other. The Nationals have been a very sneaky team against lefties. There are just some teams that absolutely smash the ball against lefties. The Orioles are one of those teams. The Nationals are one of those teams too as well. You did mention Montgomery does induce a lot of ground balls, but he has been hit hard lately as well. Mackenzie Gore on the other side, being a lefty against the Cardinals, even though they've not performed well overall, they are another good team that hits lefties extremely well. Paul Goldschmidt, Brandon Donovan, Nolan Arenado, all guys that hit them well. So I think that's going to easily go over their total of 8.5 runs here tonight. That's going to do it for this segment here on the Sweat Tuesday Takeover with Jared Carrabis, even though he's not here. He's in Arizona. But we're going to hear from Jared coming up. David Ortiz made an appearance on the Baseball is Dead podcast talking about this Red Sox-Yankees rivalry. What does make a good rivalry? We'll hear from David Ortiz and Jared Carrabis up next.
All right, we're back, everybody, on a Tuesday takeover edition of The Sweat with Steve Buchanan, Jesse Cofield, Emerson Lanciano, Jared Carrabba. So we talked a little bit about Aaron Judge's importance to the Yankees earlier in this program, but how about his importance to one of the most storied rivalries in all of sports?
Yeah, Red Sox-Yankees over the weekend just didn't have the juice.
It was a wet fart.
Yeah, it did not. I wouldn't use that exact metaphor, but I mean, it just didn't have the juice. So Jared had Big Papi, that is David Ortiz, okay, on the Baseball is Dead podcast to talk about exactly what's going on, man, and what this rivalry is missing.
There's no juice. The rivalry is just, it's dormant. There's nothing there. Does it make you sad to see something that you put so much time and effort into, you built it up, and then you're looking at it today and you're like, this is garbage?
Well, Jared, to be honest with you, you basically grew up in an era where there was a lot of superhero out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's hard to match. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not just saying that just for saying it. I mean, if you if you go to a Yankee and Red Sox game 12, 15 years ago, and even before that, I mean, the players involved in those 2 decades and even 3 decades and even more, it were guys that had big names in the game. You know what I'm saying? The game had changed. Now you got older youngsters out there trying to figure things out, which is fair. And I would say in rivalry like that, there's some time that kind of things slow down into the guy, you know, became to be a big time player. For example, I never thought that one player, and humbly saying this, I never thought that one player will make that big of a difference. Like, looking at the Yankees without Aaron Judge, it's like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? you know, like I watched that series when we were in New York, and not having him in the lineup, not seeing the Yankees with him in the lineup, it's like, and remember, you have Giancarlo Stanton, you have many players right there, you have Rizzo. I mean, but this guy make a huge difference, huge impact. They're often don't look the same. It doesn't look right without him. That go back to what I always say, that one player in your lineup who protect the one that is in front of him and the one that is after him. Because Dallas can tell you, as a pitcher, you worry so much about a guy like that you sometimes lose your focus at the beginning and probably towards the end, because the attention that a player like that, the distraction that a player like that became to be. You know what I'm saying? So, and you look at the numbers offensively since he went down, they're a totally different ball club.
Mm.
No, that's so true, Papi. And because look, I can remember I'm staring down Jed Lowry when he was good and he could play and his legs worked. And then I got to worry about this kid that you used to play with. His name is Dustin Pedroia. He played second base for you, Papi.
Pee-wee.
I don't know if you remember him.
We kind of know him.
but I'm worried about those guys, and I got this big guy looming on deck, and I got Manny looming on deck. You got Verite. You get the fucking list just goes on and on. So you might be facing the leadoff hitter, but you're concerned with and you are aware of all of these other guys that are coming behind him.
Bukes, what is the formula for a good rivalry right now? And whatever it is, the Yankees and Red Sox are lacking it.
I mean, there's just no hatred between these two teams. Like, there's no passion. I mean, obviously before the Red Sox hadn't won, so there was that. And now it's like, well, now neither team is winning particularly well right now. So there's nothing there. Like, you can't just have a rivalry exist when there's just nothing there. And that's kind of what is happening with these two teams right now.
I feel like rivalry centers around there being something on the line.
A focal point or something.
And when you're both bad, when you're both mid, there's just no juice. There's no spark, because what are you really competing for?
Right.
That's why I would say something like Mets Braves would probably one of the top rivalries, only because there is hatred between those fan bases. You got tons of star players, and to Jesse's point, there always seems to be something at stake when those two
Yeah, there's
teams
got to be
meet.
something at stake.
Right.
The fact that, like you said, these are both mid teams. It doesn't feel like there's any sense of urgency.
It's not the same when you're fighting for 4th place.
Yeah.
That's not what a rivalry is.
True,
is
and with
for.
no Aaron Judge either, even though he sucks at
But
Fenway.
there's nothing with Judge and the Red Sox. There's no
Yeah.
hatred or anything. So there's nothing there right now.
All right, that's a show, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Sweat Tuesday Takeover with Jared Carabas, who will be back here in studio next Tuesday. Nice work, you two. Yeah, let me know if you find him or maybe a few extra
I think
coins
he's in Arizona.
Got to go
Yeah.
pump the meter. Okay, peace.
You don't drive.
I know.